Welcome, everybody, to a Christmas best of edition of Weird Wednesday from BaloneyBrain.com. I am, of course, Used Toy or John House, and joining me is my co-host, Daryl House or Suburban Hobo. How you doing, Daryl?
Ho, ho, ho! Any better, my heart would fall through the clouds. You know what? My family really embraces the Christmas holidays to the point that, to a certain extent, over the years, they have kind of made it less good for me. But I don't know if it's the Santa thing that I'm doing. I am in love with Christmas again this year. My family's around, except for my daughter out in Texas and the babies, but the rest of the family's all here, and I'm having fun. I'm laughing. I'm making kids feel good with my Santa thing, and I'm all about Christmas this year. I feel good about it.
I am very excited this year as well. We've got the old crowbar, I think, turning the corner. Some big names coming up in January, but today is a special day for us. We're over a year doing Weird Wednesdays, and we're doing our first best of. And I went back and I watched most of everything we've done up until this point, and I laughed myself silly.
That's funny. Shouldn't have taken too long to make yourself silly.
It took a little while.
I mean, to watch, but to laugh yourself silly, I meant.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what? We've had some great stories this past year, and when you start to think, what were the best? Gee, a little difficult, but you and I in our conversations, I had two stories that came to mind immediately, and this one cracked me up. This came out of Ocala, Florida. Ocala is up just northwest of Orlando, and a lot of people think of it. It's horse country. It's like Kentucky. It's beautiful. Miles of picket fences. They got pretty horses, fast women. It's a beautiful place to be. But this story came out of that area when one of three men who stole and snorted human and dog ashes.
I remember that story.
Well, he got 8 years in prison. It's kind of funny going back and researching these stories. More information came out now. I mean, they've all gone to trial. They were arrested, and then they've been imprisoned. But authorities told the Ocala Sun Banner that Jose David Diaz Marrero, 20 years old, in his most heinous crime, along with his accomplices Walter Soroa and Matrix Andaluz, discovered several urns filled with ashes in a Silver Spring Shore home that they were burglarizing. The group reportedly thought that the urns contained crushed up pills, so they tasted and snorted the contents. The men also reportedly stole about $1,500 worth of jewelry, a laptop, and a 42-inch television. The homeowner returned that night to find that the urns, which contained the ashes of her father and two Great Danes, were gone. Diaz Marrero pleaded guilty and reportedly apologized in court.
Oh, good. Since you're going there, I'm going to go with one of my favorite stories. Believe it or not, one of my favorites of the year was from our November 6th edition. It was the Williamson County, Tennessee lawyer named Drew Justice, who decided that he wanted to be called Captain Justice. You'll remember that the defense or the prosecuting attorney had raised the motion not wanting to be called the government anymore, and so he decided, well, if we're going to be able to pick our own names, he decided that he didn't want to be called lawyer or defense attorney, and instead wanted to be known as Guardian of the Realm or Defender of the Innocent. I just really like this guy.
Yeah.
So,
my hero.
Nothing like having Captain Justice defending you in court.
I love that. Well, I have this story, and again, it's one of those things like when you go back and look at it later, there's more information that's come out since then. This is kind of long, and I have tried to edit this thing down to make it shorter, and this was actually about the same time as the Ocala snorting dog story. But you may remember this, a pilot who was from, I think, North Carolina, had a home in LaBelle, Florida, which is out by Fort Myers. Well, this is the CNN story. A lot of things can go wrong in life that you can plan for, but some are just too far-fetched to bother with, or so you think. Just ask the man who stole a trailer from outside a Florida home, unconcerned about the small plane buzzing overhead. You remember this?
I do.
Turns out the pilot of the single-engine Cessna was the homeowner who just happened to be flying by when he spotted the theft in progress. The husband and wife, we watched him just walk right out in front of us, said David Zettner, the homeowner, and he was telling the story 2 or 3 times. The guy actually looked up at us. At one point, he even stood with his hands on his hips and looked at us. Well, the incident occurred when Zettner was flying back to LaBelle outside Fort Myers from Franklin, North Carolina. That's where the North Carolina. The flight path and landing procedures in LaBelle flies right over the property, so they always kind of buzz and circle over the property. Well, as they reached an altitude of 800 feet, the wife noticed something odd. The wife says, "Honey, there's somebody at our house. There's a truck parked in our driveway." He drops down to about 300 feet, buzz the ranch home, and they see the guy walking around looking in windows, checking doors, scoping the house out, and it wasn't anybody they knew. Well, the man then picked up a 6-foot by 12-foot red utility trailer that was parked outside the house, took the bumper, attached it to his pickup truck, and he drove off. My wife kept saying, "Land, land." He said, but there was no place to land. And I said, "Honey, he's not going to get away. There's no way he's going to get away." So they followed the truck and the trailer 7 miles into town. At one point, the truck stopped at a red light in front of the police station, but there was still nothing that he could do because his cell phone, the props of the plane would have been louder than the cell phone, so he couldn't make any phone calls. I'm trying to shorten this, but it's such a great story. The truck finally pulled onto a highway out of LaBelle. The pilot made a quick stop. He calls the 911 dispatcher in Henry County and told him they put out a bolo and be on the lookout for him. Well, within half an hour, he gets a call from deputies in Lee County, which is Fort Myers, and they have a helicopter, and they think they got it. So he says, "We got him. Hold on. Somebody will call you back." 5 minutes later, they said, "Okay, come on out here." A few minutes later, they got another call and said, "Okay, we've got him. Restock the truck. He's on I-75 heading into Charlotte County." I mean, this is like a 3-county episode going on here. So they go back, they get the trailer, they impounded the bad guy's truck, they took their trailer back, and the guy says, I don't think my wife has still gotten over it. He says, "I hear people all the time say there's never a cop around when you need one." He said, "I just want people to know that when I needed one, there was a bunch around, and they did an excellent job."
Are you sure you didn't tell that story in real time? Well, one of my favorite stories of the year is from our May 22nd. You'll remember this, our happy hour tribute to Chuck Barris version. Hey, how's everybody doing? So, you had a story about a man trying to copulate with a hornet's nest. And you were going on about how no means no, especially when you're trying to, the hornets apparently let him know that no means no.
You're trying to cop a buzz, as I recall.
I think that might be accurate.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is my favorite story of the year. And if I could just preview it with this. And I will always love you. Remember the story?
I do.
American Airlines said a flight from Los Angeles to New York was diverted to Missouri when a passenger would not stop singing Whitney Houston songs. The flight, which left L.A. at 3:30 in the afternoon for JFK.
I believe the children are our future.
Well, they made an unscheduled stop at Kansas City International, so the woman whose name was not released could be removed. The woman whose performance was captured on video by a fellow passenger was being disrupted by refusing to stop, loudly singing, and the woman was being disrupted and removed by the flight crew because she kept singing, and there was a federal air marshal on the aircraft. Luckily, he didn't shoot her, but he subdued the one, put her in cuffs, removed her from the plane, but she continued singing, I Will Always Love You. The Dolly Parton pen song with the famous cover by Houston, even as she was being removed from it. That is my favorite story of the year.
Well, for a little bonus story, I'm actually going to go back to 2012 and our very first Weird Wednesday. I hope you remember this story. Hartford, Connecticut, a guy steals a Chinese restaurant delivery car and goes ahead making deliveries. He keeps making deliveries and taking the money. And needless to say, when he was arrested, he perhaps had a small amount of marijuana with him. Do you guess maybe he had the munchies?
I think he was looking for one from column A, two from column B. Well,
Well,
go ahead.
we wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you guys for tuning in to Weird Wednesday on baloneybrain.com. Daryl, it's been a wonderful year.
I just want to say, folks, I will always love you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
We'll see y'all next week.